share with them.
Right. Well, I think from experience, like the more you're going to learn about it, the more you can predict what they're probably going through before they even tell you what's going on. Because it's got to be a pretty embarrassing thing, especially if it's group training or something like that, like large CrossFit class, and you have people of all levels and abilities, and then you have a woman who's like, I can't do this, and you're like, why can't you do it? Let's go. And you got people trying to push it, but they're not understanding what the person's going through. So you're trying to push them forward, and they're like, if I jump, I'm going to piss myself. Yeah, so obviously you've got to be very careful, and the more you know and understand how it works, the better you can make adjustments before you put them in an embarrassing.
I mean, there's so many factors. Like one of the big factors I dealt with women with, after giving birth. A lot of these women have cesareans. When you have a C-section, you're cutting across the muscle fibers, you're cutting across the hypogastric nerves and things like that, and so they can't activate their core either. Mm-hmm. So that's another thing I have, when I'm working with women is maybe we should start healing that scar tissue first before we have them do any deadlifts, squats, or body function. Again, that's just one of many, many things that I have to deal with that we're not taught or look at. It's the whole system of the body. Body fat content, I mean, a lot of women are really aiming to be really lean and fit. But if your body fat for women is under 13% or so, you're setting up yourself for hormonal problems.
It's very low for women.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of women not able to have their periods, or they're having irregular periods or very painful periods. Again, when their body fat is very low, the body's under threat. Again, the body doesn't know if you're working out or you're being chased by a wild animal in nature. If you have very low body fat, your body's just going to act at a response of survival, saying, okay, where's the food I need? I need to gain a little fat to supply the body and possibly a baby. But the thing is, women don't even have their periods is because the body's like, listen, you don't need to produce right now. You're under threat. You know what I mean? So there's this whole condition of how we should really look and feel. I mean, women back in the days like Marilyn Monroe and, back in the 50s, women were voluptuous. They were good, but women today, the pressures that they're put under of how to look is just beyond reality sometimes. And it's really heartbreaking when someone's telling you, I'm not losing weight, I'm not thin enough. And I say, you look fine, and they're not happy with that.
A lot of people just can't find that happiness within themselves. And then there's so much misinformation out there. What is it? One of the more popular celebrity trainers, I think her name's Tracy Anderson, she goes around saying that, I think it's like Gwyneth Paltrow's trainer, and her big thing is women should never lift a weight heavier than 3 pounds. I'm like, that's literally a small bottle of water, And if they can't lift anything heavier than a bottle of water, it's just silly. And that's why these women look skinny fat. They got flat butts. They literally have no muscle tone, but they're just thinking about getting smaller, smaller, smaller. And if you wrap a tiny woman up in a tight pair of jeans, okay, she looks tiny. And from another woman's perspective, oh, she's so thin. But from a guy's perspective, we want curves. We want some hips. We want to see we want a stacked woman who's sexy and hot and who's healthy and fit. We don't want twigs. I think for mostly it's like the women are trying to impress other women. I don't even think they're trying to impress men. Really, they should be about impressing themselves and making themselves feel as good about themselves as possible. But so much of it comes down to how am I perceived among my peers? How are women looking at me? What do they think about my purse? What do they think about my butt, my breast, all that? So they do cosmetic surgery, they get themselves fixed up so they're perceived a little bit better, when really it should, in my opinion, it should be about how can I make myself better, not how can I make myself appear to be better. So we've talked quite a bit about things to not do. What are some things, how do we fix it? What should we do?
That's you're right. What should we do? What you just said a second ago just really triggers something. It's like women should train like men. In terms of body weight exercises, lifting heavy, build that muscle. You're not going to be gigantic. You're going to be strong. You're going to prevent problems in the future like osteoporosis, things like that. I'm not a fan of cardio, but if you feel you need to do it, you should do it on your off days, 20 minutes maybe. But you're better off just doing squats or deadlifts in shorter time periods to get your heart rate going. And muscle burns more fat than cardio, because once you do cardio for half an hour. You're only triggering enough energy expenditure at that time. Mm-hmm. But when you do muscle bearing exercises, your body's burning those calories for hours and hours on end, and you need to feed yourself. And You know, I drive by, by me, and there's a path place by me, and at nighttime, 9 o'clock, you drive by, and you'll see a line of treadmills, and everyone's on a treadmill at 9 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting there like, they're setting themselves for disaster. Especially they're training late at night, so they're raising their stress hormones. So their body will always be in a catabolic state. Uh-huh. You want to become anabolic, so it's eating the right foods to bring down the stress hormones. I mean, we can go on that maybe on another video, but no, it's really important for women to eat a huge breakfast. I think today it's very common for people just to have coffee for breakfast, like some people I know. Yeah. They'll skip out on breakfast, have a bagel, and then they eat heavier at night, and this is what sets them up to look like a pear. Okay. But if you reverse it, where you eat a heavy breakfast, snack, nice sized lunch, and then digress the portion, I've seen, and for me, myself, the body weight just comes off and their body just works out. Because the caloric demand for women is very strong because their hormonal responses are very strong. They have, they have to look at that in an aspect. They have a big demand physically, taking care of children, working, running around, their thought process. All these things demand a lot of calories. So if they fuel themselves up first thing in the morning, you'll realize they'll start to do a lot better. But once you skip breakfast, or you don't eat within a half hour, 45 minutes of waking up, you're already going to set up some blood sugar issues, catabolic issues with your muscles, mood swings. You're going to start craving junk, things like that. So it's really important to eat a huge breakfast.
And you find this common between almost everybody, or because I've done both. I used to wake up and immediately slam, huge breakfast, lots of eggs and vegetables. I usually have, a bunch of leftover vegetables from the night before, put them in an omelet or scramble, and, maybe a potato or two for some carbs. A couple hours later I'd eat it, a couple hours throughout the day, and my meals would get bigger early and smaller towards night. Now it's kind of the opposite. I might have a little breakfast once in a while, and a little bit for lunch, and then later in the evening, like for dinner, in like a 3 or 4 hour window at night, I'll slam a bunch of food. And that's what I'm doing now. And you're saying that's kind of the wrong way to go. But
well, it's not the wrong way, but just for women specifically because of their hormonal issues. Everyone's different. Their metabolic rate is very low, which is, when I work with my female clients and nutrition and stuff like that, I always test their metabolism through their body temperature and pulse. And when I see when they have a very low body temperature and pulse, I always see their metabolism is very slow. So we have to adjust their foods, their ratios, their timing according to them. But I just feel for females, because their bodies, are different than men. Again, equal but not the same. They need more of a caloric demand in the morning. But because you are, you're athletic, you have a high metabolic rate probably, you can do that. You could probably just eat through the day and not gain any fat, but just due to estrogen issues, low metabolic rate, things like that, it's all about controlling those stress hormones so the body can start healing and rejuvenate and then start taking away. Because, I've worked with women where, they start gaining so much weight and they're flipping out. I said, give it time to the body heals, and then when it does, the weight just came off. I had a girl a couple of years ago, real quick, she was, mid-20s, very professional executive in New York, worked out every day, could not lose weight. She was getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and when I assessed her and worked with her, I made her stop working out and ate more, and she started doing yoga, and she dropped 40 pounds in 6 months. Now, so it's all person-specific. You really have to look at their stress levels. This is why I always encourage trainers, anybody who's watching this, regardless, male or female, you always need to assess your client, their lifestyle, their posture, their diet, things like that. Because if you want success, you really have to treat each person individualized approach. It's not a cookie cutter. You know what I mean? And that's the problem. It's because just the way the economy is and the way we're on our time, we want group training, boom, 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 let's get 12-hour training, everybody work out, boom, and we don't really take time to sit. Really, we just don't have time where people can afford to pay someone to sit there for an hour and work them. Very few are very lucky to do that. Yeah. But that's just from my perception. Doesn't mean it's true for everybody. But this is how we learn and grow. And, it's bumping ideas off each other. We can learn from that. It's sharing this video. Hopefully it'll give some insight, that women need to be treated differently and approached. They're very delicate in terms of, how their bodies respond compared to a male. And, you can't treat them the same. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work that way. Some people might get instant results and say, well, it works for me. Well, then great. It does. But we have a woman here who's, she's looking at me, she's crying because she's been, trying for 6 months. She's not getting anywhere. But meantime, maybe she's dealing with some emotional stuff.
Yeah.
Because putting on that weight is an emotional sign of protecting. When we need to protect ourselves. And I don't want to get too deep, but I had a female client a few years ago. She just couldn't lose the weight, and after some therapy, she was molested as a young lady. So unconsciously, she kept that weight on, so she felt like no one would touch her.
She subconsciously made herself less attractive.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's all different things. You and I could talk about this for hours, but I feel like from this, we really have to look at all these issues of hormones, nutrition, the approach to exercise, and what we can do to benefit our female clients.
Okay, great. That's a lot, and I think this will be a good way to stimulate some other questions that maybe we might have touched on but didn't get into as deep as we wanted to. So any questions that might come up, people could definitely ask. We could maybe do a part 2
or
and see what goes from there. And obviously, anything else that comes up, questions arise, even a different subject come up, and we'll attack them next time. So that's been about a half hour or so.
It's been like 45 minutes, brother.
Any final thoughts on that, or what?
Nothing.
Good.
That's it. I'm good. Yeah. What about you? Anything for you?
No, just keeping a thought in mind of I remember you've brought this up before, and you were going into it, but you didn't really hit it. Was the difference between working out and working in, and finding that when the stress levels are up, instead of working harder, focus on doing something that relieves the stress. And women or even men, anybody in general who find it really hard to release that weight, working out harder might not be the thing. That's how your body kind of like stresses out, and you're stressed at work, you're stressed from family, relationships, everything, and then you go to work out, and it should be something that should help you relieve the stress. But if it's bringing even more, your body's going to hold on to it. Even though you're working hard and you're sweating, you might not. It's not just about calories. Hormones are a lot stronger than any calorie out there. So trying to get yourself to relax, and then finally, if you, like you said, you have a client that can finally, like, it might be, for some people it might be like a quick thing. As soon as they get it, it's like, boom, there's been like that trap door that opens up and then the weight falls off. So finding that thing that releases the stress, it might be the weight, it might be whatever, but you find that way that's something that's deep inside you that's causing you that pain or that hurt or whatever the stress is. Find a way to address it so you can release it, and then the body will start taking shape, and if it's a weight issue, you can drop the weight. If it's muscle or something that's holding you back. But addressing those the hormonal issues first, and releasing that stress from your body as much as possible. Anything that's stressing you out. If you have an asshole boss, I know we can't just all go out and quit our jobs, but it needs to be addressed. And then the weight kind of takes care of itself when you get rid of all the negative factors in your life.
Exactly. It's like I said about that client, she lost the 40 pounds because we try to eliminate as much stress as possible. And yoga helped her breathe and it just melted off. It's great. You're right. No, it's an important factor. Unfortunately, it's not taught in the in the general gyms or trainers. They're just taught to work this person out. And
if it's not working, work them harder. That doesn't work them harder. And working harder is probably not it. And you've probably noticed, if you work with different people, especially in like a group, one person, especially if it's like a man and a woman, a man might drop some weight off, like a husband and wife join a gym and they do, and then all the man does is like stop drinking soda and might drop 25 pounds in a month, and the woman holds on to it. She's like, what the hell, I'm doing all this and that. And then they stress even more and they hold even more. It's like another month goes by, the guy drops even more weight and the women didn't lose anything. But then they finally get to that point and it's like, boom, and then it happens. So
that's what I'm saying. The female fat cell is a very tricky little monster.
Yeah.
It's a very if you understand.
Soon. Yeah,
there's a great book, it's called Outsmarting the Female Fat Cell by Deborah Waterhouse. She has a series of books. She really explains it very simply and how, just the basics of what the fat cell does in the female compared to a male. So check it out. It's called Outsmarting the Female Fat Cell by Deborah Waterhouse. It's a real good book, and educate you a little bit on how the female, help you understand why the female body does what it does in that aspect.
Awesome. Okay.
All right, brother.
That was great talk. Anyone ask questions? This is Chris Dillon. I'm Matt Wachlinski. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks, brother.